So we had a lot of good fights tonight. UFC fight night. Uh, that main event was unreal. I'll make a video on the fight night tomorrow. This video is about Francis Ngannou, and I guess I'll talk a bit about the rest of the card. Uh, but I will probably save that for its own. Because of the fact we gotta talk about Cyborg too, I want to talk about Leon Edwards' brother. Anyways, before we get into Francis Ngannou here, if you like the content, subscribe. It helps a lot. And yeah. Um, so, before we look at the clips today, we need to talk about what led to Francis Ngannou going to the PFL in the first place. So, and how he rose to the position he's in. Francis Ngannou came from Cameroon. He swam across an ocean multiple times because he got caught. Made it to France, wanted to be a boxer, decided to pick up MMA, and with only a few years training, got into the UFC, knocked out everybody in the first round up to the title, lost to Stipe, came back, had that, brain fight with Derek Lewis, went on another spree of knockouts, got the title, and then when he had one fight left on his contract, the UFC wanted to re-sign him, but Francis wanted to have the boxing matches that he ended up having. UFC didn't want to do that, so we had Silgan becoming an interim champion against I forgot who Silgan beat. That's so important. But anyways, that happens. Silgan becomes interim champ only a few months after Francis fights. And then Francis beats Silgan in that comeback win where he used his wrestling the same way he used it in this fight. And, won that, held out, signed with the PFL. He had two massive boxing fights. Which, by the way, if you really think, if you really think Francis made the wrong decision, he didn't. Even though he got, people clowned on Francis Ngannou for being knocked out by Anthony Joshua after he arguably beat Tyson Fury in a fight. That was, again, Francis's second pro boxing fight. Or, I don't know if it was pro. I forgot if it was pro or expression. Anyways, second boxing fight, got knocked out by one of the greatest heavyweights of his generation, and Anthony Joshua, and obviously with what happened to his son, tragically, Kobe, he passed away really young at 5 years old, and dude, that is on top of everything that Francis has endured. Which, by the way, if you don't know Francis Ngannou's story, there's a channel, Mixed Molly Whopper. He did a entire documentary on Francis Ngannou's history, or how he got to the UFC, basically. And really good. I highly suggest you check it out. But this is a Francis who gambled his entire career, and if you remember, there was talk about him maybe resigning and getting the boxing fights, and then Dana was heavily against it, and then he was rumored to go to one, and then uh, blanking on his name. The owner of one came out and said they were out, which was the PFL, and then it was announced uh, Francis signed his deal with uh, his seat on the board, 2 fight contract, 8 mil plus pay per view, and it allowed him to go take those 2 boxing matches, which, yes, he lost both. He arguably beat Tyson Fury, like I said, but he made probably $40 million in 2 fights, which, he wasn't going to make any kind of money in that fight. In the UFC. I don't even think, Conor McGregor, right? I don't even think he's making more than 20 mil at most. I'd really be interested to hear, or if anybody knows his exact numbers, maybe Pereira, but man, like I said, not only Francis, but his manager, Markel Martin, Eric Nixick, everybody in that team, they gambled everything, you know, and it paid off. And arguably, Francis is the best heavyweight in the world right now. I think after that performance, and maybe our opinions will change if John Jones or Stipe has an impressive performance in their fight in November. But yeah, like the fact that Francis leveled up his game, here I'll bring up the okay, so we got a couple angles. We got this one, and then we got directly at the cage. But look at this dude. Francis Ngannou is the last person. Look, he goes limp. I'm pretty sure it's Dan Mergliotta. He stepped in, fairly quickly, but that's not quick enough. Those 2 extra shots could have killed that poor man. And Renan Ferreira, right? Everybody's knocking on John Jones fighting Stipe, who is 41, 42, he's the same height, less reach. Francis Ngannou just took on a guy who I'm pretty sure is 4 years younger than him, 6'9", and he displayed that he is a true martial artist. People forgot maybe that he, like I said, he won the Cyril Gane fights off of wrestling. He lost the first 2 rounds, and then he was able to consistently take down Gane, and then he pieced out of the UFC. But yeah. There's no way I can root against Francis Ngannou, regardless of who he fights. There's even we have a cage direct. Well, I don't want to get. I don't know if I'm allowed to have the sound on, but oh, dude, that is terrible. His head is bouncing off of the cage. Yeah. But, yeah. And, after the fight, you see Eric right there. Francis, his team, they all started getting really emotional, obviously because of what happened to Francis's son. But you know, this is one of the, you know, most feel good stories in MMA. Like, let's face it here. Mixed martial arts, for the most part, the headlines we get aren't the best. You know, we got John Jones hitting a pregnant lady, failing drug test, hiding under a cage. We have Connor doing what he's doing, punching an old man. We have BJ Penn getting into street fights and getting knocked out. We had Tony Ferguson in a car crash. Like, we don't get a lot of these feel good stories. Oh my god, that scared me. We don't get a lot of good feel good stories, right? You know, but Francis, especially in MMA, right? And you know, if you watch any of my older videos, which I will admit were poorly done. Like, I feel like I can say that I'm a shitty YouTuber now instead of a dog shit YouTuber. Like, I'm slowly working my way up there. But okay, I need to mute this. I didn't understand. Okay, I don't want you to talk. But I think I made a video when Francis left, right? And I talked about, like, Markel Martin, his manager, the flack that he was getting publicly from Dana White. Eric Nixick even got some of it too. Like, unless you are a hardcore MMA fan, which I assume you are if you found my YouTube channel, because I'm a fairly niche YouTuber. But yeah. Man. Like seeing that, I won't lie, I nearly got emotional there seeing him win that fight after everything he's been through. But yeah. Chris Cyborg had a phenomenal performance. She now has won every major women's title in MMA now. So, one of the greatest of all time. You know, obviously Amanda Nunes is clearly the GOAT. I don't think anybody will ever touch her accolades. But, yeah. Incredible performance. An incredible comeback for Francis Ngannou. Now, it's a matter of seeing what's next for him. They're talking about Deontay Wilder fighting him in MMA. I think Francis would run through him, but I would watch that fight. But, yeah. Leon Edwards' brother lost, too. That sucks, but, yeah. That's a short one here. I will do my breakdown of the fight night, tomorrow. And yeah, let me know what you thought about this fight. Do you think Francis Ngannou is the number one pound for pound fighter? Do you think he's still the best heavyweight fighter? Let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, later.